recording.
Yeah, thank you. So the principle that the Rebbe is repetitively bringing up, which means that this is the central theme, the central point that he wants that we should understand, the principle of hitlabshut. That there are koiches, there are certain effects from an action, but an action normally can be just an action. The result is all that there is, but the power that acts is not involved. But there's another type of an action, where the action, the power that acts is actually involved in what it accomplishes. This is the whole thing for a long time. And in order to fully understand it, he says, we will understand it better when we go to Keches Ruchnim. Keches Riko is very difficult to project that the Keches Riko, the Keches Hatnu is involved in this Riko. Keches Hatnu, the Keches movement of the hand, is involved in the throw. Even though that's a principle, definitely this has been discussed at great length. But he says, but the Keches Ruchnim, when you have Keches Ruchnim, spiritual koiches that also interact with each other, as the sechel and koich hatnur, the sechel and the koich of the movement of the hand.
That's an example of spiritual faculties interacting?
That's an example at the lowest level, but still it's a spiritual faculty, because let's understand what's the difference between what we discussed. The act of the throw. And now we're talking about the koyach hazriko.
Okay.
The koyach hazriko is initiated by sechel.
And that sechel speaks to or is involved with koyach.
And that sechel activates this koyach. And this activation is actually representing the phenomenon that Koyach HaSeichel fully understands what Zriko is, what the Koyach HaZriko is, and it actually relates to it. It joins it. So that when one throws, the Koyach HaSeichel is part of that function of the throw itself. You would think that the throw is in the Koyach HaTnuah. The aim and the direction which is throwing, that's a seichel. But the Rebbe says that's not entirely true. The activation of the Koyach HaSeichel itself is a seichel.
Both the activation and the execution.
And execution is certainly, this is activation. We discussed this, and let me just kind of reiterate and bring back the principle that we discussed. To throw, you have to recognize and identify a target that is away from you, at a distance from you. What is the significance of that? The significance of that is this, that an object that is right next to your hand immediately is reflected in your hand. Because if you move the hand without ignoring this object, you're going to get hit. So you immediately recognize this object. But an object that is at a distance from you. What makes you recognize that object? What makes you curious about that object? It's not a physical phenomenon. It's not a physical thing. It is the sechel that identifies the object even though at a distance. And we discussed a step further. What phenomenon, what aspect in the sechel recognizes the object at a distance? It doesn't bother you. What do you care if it's there? Why would you react to its presence? How would you recognize its presence? It doesn't affect you. The answer is, this is the principle that we discussed, and I want to reiterate, because the sechel has a completely different perception. The sechel is based to a different reality than the goof reacts. Sechel is not reactive. Sechel sees the truth, the reality itself. What is the reality of that when you observe? This is the Mebish's world. It's the Mebish's creation. As such, everything that you see is part of your, it entices you, makes you curious, makes you interested. Because this is real to you. The Rebbe created a world with all of those infinite varieties in it. And he put the human being, you, in there. He gave you this world to fulfill your function in the world.
Where does the idea of target come in here?
No, that's the next step. First, you identify the object.
It is interesting you could focus on anything in that kind of context. Everything is enticing. There's a whole array of reality.
That's it. This is the point. This is the point. That's why there's these slapshes. In other words, these things, you relate to them. They mean something to you. Why? Because they're part of the reality that the Rebbe should put you into. If a person turns around and says, I'm only interested in myself, that which benefits me, that's all I'm interested in, then he will not be able to focus on a target that is a distance from him. I told you the story.
He would not be able to.
That's right.
You may think he'd focus better because he'd seek what's in his own interest. That suits me. That's to my...
No, but something at a distance, how does it relate to him?
Well, again,
how is it real?
It's real in the sense that it serves his interest.
Yeah, but it doesn't. If it's a distance, doesn't serve his interest.
But it's not at hand. It's not. He can't put in the context of what it'll do for him.
That's right. And what he's going to do with it? A table, as I said, you touch it, I see it. And if I ignore it, it's going to be interfering with my walking. It's real. But something at a distance, that's identified from a completely different perspective. I told you the story. This is a phenomenal story. I remember now the name of the person, Pini Aldhuis. Pini Aldhuis was a Chassidish Shiri who was very, very close to the Rebbe, with Friedrich and Rebbe. One time, Pini Aldhuis was walking to the Rebbe, with the Rebbe together. I don't know if it was in Leningrad or in some big city, and they were passing by a target shooting area. Okay, Baruch Hashem, good. It doesn't hurt if it's twice.
Or 3 times.
You're not in competition with each other. So Pini Aldhuis suggested the Rebbe should go and do some target shooting. And the Rebbe said, okay, let's go. And he relates the following story. The Rebbe was not trained in target shooting. Clearly, that was not his primary occupation, or a secondary occupation, or at any time. I never did maybe the first time they ever shot. So they came there to target shooting. So Pini was shooting and shooting and shooting, and every time he missed the target. The Rebbe shot, every time hit it. Amazing thing. If you think about it clearly, this is not a special skill that the Rebbe had. He never trained, he never developed that skill. It is the ability to concentrate and focus on the target. What enables a person to concentrate and focus on the target? It is to identify with the target as a real thing, as something that I can relate to. And what makes a person identify with the target and feel that he's related? It's part of the world that David should create for him. It's part of his reality. By Rebbe, there was no such thing as a strange thing, as an outsider. This is hitlabshut. This is what enables hitlabshut. Hitlabshut means you can actually, the sechel can actually imbue itself and recognize and participate in what it's doing. Not just in the final result, but in the action itself. Let's take a very simple, down-to-earth illustration of that experience. There's a chair standing over there, and it's out of place. It's not standing right. Somebody walks by and pushes it further out of its place. Somebody walks by, picks it up, and puts it in its place. When this person picks it up and puts it in its place, he's involved not only in the result that it's now in its place, but the moving it into its place is also part of what he's involved in. There's a reality to it. This is what hitlabshut has sechel. At a very simple, low level, not painting a simple low level, there's hitlabshut. What am I doing? I'm moving the shirt in place. I'm not moving it away from here so that it wouldn't interfere with my walking. I'm moving it where it belongs. This is what hitlabshut. Okay, so then the Rebbe brings down that Basor Dvorim Barakos Bozo. 4 lines from the bottom. Basor Dvorim Barakos Bozo. Hashem created the world with 10 things, and then it enumerates and it goes on. B'chochma, u'b'sfuno, b'das, b'chayach, b'garu, b'chochma and bina and das. The koyach of the gairu between force and gairu and command and so forth. What is the union from these 10 things? The ho'asor advorim, but these 10 things, kulam, all of them, hu shaboyim bebchinas hitlabshut. The Rebbe should create the world by saying, "Let it be," and it be. That would be a creation that from top down, uninvolved, so to say, not bringing an element that I appreciate involved in what is happening. But then the man says, that actually the Rebbe should identify 10 things prior to the creation. 10 things that will create the world. Let us just contemplate for a moment. What is the significance of this? Maybe she could create the world because he wants to create, because he said, let it be a world, there is a world. What is the significance that there are 10 things, Chochmah, Tuna, Das, and so forth, that are involved in creating the world? Very briefly, this is a big thing, very briefly. If the world were to be created from a higher source, it's the same world. But there is not the intermediate stage that will, a godly stage that relates to the creation. Then the creation, the created, the human beings would not have the ability to rise on a gradual manner, higher and higher.
One more time. If the world was created with one statement, humanity could not make gradual improvements?
Right, rising. What is the difference whether you have a staircase, or let's say you're athletic and you can jump right up to the second story? Or if you can't jump, but you can see the second story. You can relate to the second story by just visualizing it. The staircase gives you a completely different relationship, even if you're not walking up. It relates you to this. It gives you the sense that you are welcome to rise up. You can make your way there, whatever, any other way, but this is a different thing. This is actually correlates you to the higher level, which becomes enticing and says, okay, what's there? What's on the higher level? What's on so? This will be chokhmah, bituna, b'das. All of these koiches are hitlabshut in that creation, and as a result of that, within the creation, one can project and rise up slowly to a higher level. We see at first glance the physicality of things. But then we begin to see the design in the physical thing. You see a table, it's a physical piece of wood. No, but you see a table. And what is a table? A table represents something higher than the physical presence. And the same thing is in the entire existence of the world. Like we said, that there is a divine quality in everything that exists in the world. We said, light is not just a beam of light. It's a day. It's a new creation. It's a creation, a present that can only be identified and defined by God Himself. The world does not know what that means. We discussed it so many times I don't have to elaborate on this. So this is what Rebbe says. These 10 things that the Medrash enumerates, this represents the fact that they will come by hitlabshut in the creation. They're not necessities to enable the Rebbe to create. That's not what it's about. It is in order to complement that the creation has been created with hitlabshut, with full spiritual support, significance, backing.
The 10 statements indicate a fuller degree of spiritual involvement.
That's right.
Backing.
That's right. It gives each thing that was created, it gives each thing a backing. Where does this come from? What's the background of this?
As opposed to one sort of all-inclusive.
Boom.
There you are.
There you are, and then you have no comprehension. You have no sense of any greater significance to it. There isn't. It's just this.
I'm just
Yes, sir.
confused. How what we're saying now, the Asar Dvarim, relate to the introduction about Koyach HaZrika and what we said after, and the target. How does it relate?
Okay, it relates as follows. It's exactly the same thing like this. This is something which we had big problems over here. Zriko is a throw. It's a movement of the hand that moves the rock, and the rock then goes on flying on its own. There's no human or spiritual significance to it.
Okay.
It's almost a robotic action. And the Rebbe goes on and he says, please understand that's not the case. There's a koach hatnuah, and the koach hatnuah has a purpose, has a significance in its presence. This throw is an expression of the significance of the koach hatnuah. And that's why the koach hatnuah gives a hut. Now, it makes a difference to him whether the target was reached or not reached. This is the pshat. It correlates. When the rock flies and it hits a target, it can be traced back all the way to the sechel of Adam, all the way to the neshama. Like I said, because it's a godly phenomenon, it's real. Like I said, the illustration, the Rebbe was shot, target shooting, he hit every time. Because to him this was all real. This thing was not just a distance to him. This is part of the Meiber's world.
So the target here with Asar Dvarim is the projection of Chochmah Bina Das
That's right.
into reality.
That's right. Okay, and the Rebbe goes on. We stopped here many times, and let's try and go a little bit further. Okay, let's start from 3 lines from the bottom. The Ha'asor Dvorim Kulim. All of these 10 things, what is the significance of these 10 things? Shaboyim bibchinas hitlabshut. That they come through, they relate to the world in a hitlabshut manner. I don't have to translate it. The hitlabshut manner means that they give a spiritual significance to everything else happens in the world. V'yesh bozech, you look at madregas ben Yivroyim. But then that is reflected in different madregas by Yivroyim, by the final creatures, by the creations. Dim heyois, for all the clothes his havos he, that his havos in general. I'll explain these words. I might like that we should understand. Clothes his havos, the overall his havos, the phenomenon of his havos of the creation. He me'asor dvorim hanal. Is from the 10 things that we mentioned before. I'll go just a few more words and then we'll understand what the emphasis over here. Mikomo came yet still. Yesh nivroim, there are nivroim sheikrom. What their principal effect is, hu mipin Chabad, is from the pin of Chabad, from Chochmah Bina Vadas. V'yesh, and then there are other creatures sheikrom, but their principal effect is from Pinas Amidis. Is from Midas. What is the Rebbe saying? Let's go back to the line before. The clothes his havos and yasor dvorim. What does that mean? Clothes his havos. His havos is a novel phenomenon. It's an invention. There should be something. There is nothing there. All of a sudden there is his havos. There's a presence. The phenomenon of his havos, of their being, is representative. The background for his havos is that there are 10 things, Chochmah, Bina, Vadas, and so forth. His havos did not spring up from nothing. There was Chochmah, Bina, Vadas that are the buttress, that enablers of his havos. All 10 of them. Choma contributes its thing, Bina contributes its thing, Das contributes its thing, and Midas contributes its thing. And to put all of this together, you have his house. This the clothes the phenomenon of his house is the expression of these 10 things. All 10 things are participants in bringing forth any part of his house, of the creation. If one of these 10 things would be removed, there would be a blemish in the creation of this object. This is the pshat that these 10 things. This is his hava, the clothes his hava. This is clothes his hava, the overall phenomenon of his house, of there being something created. It's representative of these 10 things. I'd like to be able to elaborate on this, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. But this is the principle the Rebbe says. These 10 things are all participants in what? In making anything be. Clothes are his habits as such. This principle of making anything be, please understand. Yes, a table is a specific entity. And it went through many steps in order to make it. But then it is a primary participant in the definition of his Hava. There's something there. This in that there's something there is equally true in everything. And in order that the phenomenon something is there should materialize, should be real, you need these 10 inyanim, chokhmah, bina, v'das, in order to facilitate this something being there. So even though that close hours is from the 10 things, Mekomokim, at the end of the second line, what about it? Yesh nivroim, still there are nivroim, sheyikrom, hum imchinas Chabad. The nivroim, that their principal representation is of the union of Chabad. V'yesh, and there are creatures, sheyikrom, but their principle is representing Mechinas Amidas. Even though they too have Chabad in them, because it cannot be a presence without Chabad. As it cannot be a presence without Midas. But the Ikor, what does it represent? What is its focus? What is it trying to accomplish? The Nim Chabad or the Nim from Midas? Shezeh Yinyan bekoyach or begairo. This Inyan Midas is bekoyach, with force. Excuse me, a gyro, with a scream, with a command, and so forth. These are all the midas aspects within the creation. We discussed many times a very interesting phenomenon in human experience. You're in bed, you wake up in the morning, and you realize, hey, it's morning, it's time to get up. And you tell yourself, it's time to get up. Have you said many times? And many times you repeat to yourself, it's time to get up. That will not get you out of bed. What will get you out of bed? Koyach b'gaira. You give yourself a big kick in the pants and get up. That'll get you out of bed. So the Chabad, the sechel, will not get you out of bed. Even though that is the basis. He said, it's time to go.
Wait, what changed? You were saying it says it's time to get up, and then he said it louder. What's the difference?
No, you give it a command. You say, forget about the seichel. Get up. There's a general standing over with a stick and says, get up.
No explanations.
Huh?
No explanations.
No explanation. The explanation was there before. I don't need to explain anymore. This is pshat. There are nivroim that represent Chabad, Ikrom, nivroim that Ikrom is spread midas, even though all of them contain everything. Because in order there should be anything, you have to have all 10 things. Okay, at the end of the line. And in this manner, as we say, that the things that are from Chabad, the things are more from Midas, in a similar manner of identification, who is also true ha'hefresh, the difference between hitlabshut utfisa. Okay, here the Rebbe goes into this principle that he has spent so much time on explaining. Hitlabshut and tfisa. In other words, the Rebbe is distinguishing now, please listen to this, between the hishavus, the Indian being there in presence, and the getting involved in this Indian. To what extent is the koyach involved with that which it creates? That is hitlabshut. Hitlabshut at tfisa. Tfisa means being grasped, being contained within it. Just as in his habits in general, there are things that are more representative of Chabad, and then there are things that are more representative of Chabad, of Chagas, of Midas. Similarly, in the principle of hitlabshut and tfisa, of hitlabshut, of being engaged in what one does. With tfisa is being identified with it, grasped by it, which is already at a different level in the relationship. Not just bringing it into existence, but to what extent you're relating to it. Shehu inyan ha'hisgalus, which is the inyan of hisgalus. Hisgalus means expressing yourself, expressing what am I doing and why am I doing this. There's one thing doing it, another thing to express what am I doing, why am I doing it. And likewise, there is different ways. There's a chokhmah type of expression, and there is a bina type, and there is a midas type.
So this koyach abegaira is not part of Chabad.
No, it's not part of Chabad. It's part of the 10 things.
It's part of the 10 things.
Yes, definitely. These 10 things, all 10 things participate in making anything. Like I said, you're in bed, you have to get up. You explain to yourself, from here to tomorrow, I have to get up. What will get you up? Koyach and Gaira.
Wait, that's only one thing, or that's all 10 things?
What?
This getting out of bed thing seems to be one thing that'll get you out of bed. Some kind of...
No, this one thing is not one thing.
Oh.
This is all things together. I mean, we can identify one on the other, but actually it's all things together.
But it's an expression beyond sechel. It's some kind of ratzon.
That's right.
Okay.
It's an expression that includes all kochas and nefesh together.
Oh, okay.
Rabbi PALTIEL, hello?
Hi, who is there?
It's the mysterious visitor.
That's right. Why don't you show up and understand what's going on? Okay, go ahead.
What's the translation of the word after hakayat in that list of things?
Say again.
What is that?
The word.
The koyach of begaira. Gaira means a scream.
A scream?
A scream. Command.
Oh, I see. So if those 10 things are the 10 midas, what does kayat stand for?
Okay, this is not the time for this.
Okay.
I know.
So we're saying that those 10 things are in fact the 10 midas. That they're the 10.
No, these are representative of 10 spheres, representative of 10 koiches.
The 10 spheres, okay.
Okay, we are on top of page Shuf Lamed Dalet. The similar thing is identifiable in the level, in the aspect of hitlabshut tfisa, the extent to which and the manner with which one is involved in what he's doing. Hitlabshut and tfisa are two aspects of being involved. Hitlabshut means being involved. Tfisa means being contained within it. Tfisa, if you remember, when the Rebbe described the flight of the stone, please bear with me. The Rebbe said the flight of the stone, there's a koyach hayad, the koyach of this riko, that embraces the stone and carries it. And in this embracing, the Rebbe says, it embraces the stone from every side, from top and down, from every side. It completely embraces the stone, as we explained. It gives the stone a new reality. Instead of being contained and sitting comfortably on earth, it's now comfortable in a different environment. That's means tfisa. This is hitlabshut to tfisa is a phenomenon that occurs in every action. We don't realize it. It's in every action, and even in thought, and even understanding something requires hitlabshut to tfisa. Shehu inin ha'hisgalus, which is the principle of hisgalus. Hisgalus means that which is the inner force behind it expresses itself. This is hisgalus. It shows itself. Hey mitzad hapoyel, hey mitzad hanifal. Hein, both, either both from the perspective of the poel of the actor, and anifal from the perspective of the one of that which is being enacted, which is being accomplished. Okay, this moshel will, and it's in elsewhere it's presented with a moshel. A moshel for this. Kmoi, as for example, follow this. As simple as it could be, but if you reflect on it, we see what we were talking about. One person is directing someone else to do something. Very simple thing. Pass me down the pencil. And the man picks out the pencil and gives it to him.
It's a pencil.
Huh?
Pencil.
Pencil.
Okay.
This the directive, command, it comes through bekoil v'dibur with the sound, with the voice, v'dibur and speech. So here we have bekoil v'gaira. B'chein and similarly, k'shemedab and divrei ahava. When one speaks divrei ahava, affectionate words, or divrei sechel, or words of intelligence, Harei ze gam kein bekoy v'dibur. It's also brought from koy v'dibur with a sound, with a voice, and dibur in speech. So here we have employed koy and dibur in two very distinct, different situations. These two situations, which are accomplished both utilizing the same qualities of koy v'dibur, are totally dissimilar.
Yeah.
Huh?
We went up one level here. Because so far we speak of a zricha, which is just a hand throwing a stone. Now we're talking about a human being telling another human being to do something. That human being, even if you say it with love or whatever, that human being could refuse to do it.
Yeah, okay. Just stay with me.
Too early. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's true. But this is not the point.
Okay.
The point is to identify, he says, these 10 things and to show how everything is related to one of the other 10 of the 10 things. Even though all 10 things are participants. Like speech and the sound of the voice and the words are participants in either you talk chokhmah or sechel or you command somebody to do it. And they're two different phenomena. They're totally dissimilar from one from the other, these two situations. Very quickly. When in the case of the command or the directive, it says, bring me this. The mashpia is not that deeply involved with his koiches. He says, bring me this. He doesn't explain why he wants it. He doesn't bring out his sechel in this. He just gives him a directive to bring it, to do it. The makabel also is not deeply involved in this, in accepting this command. His ear needs to hear the directive. There is no deep involvement in this whole interaction. But when he speaks words of affection, the mashpia is then involved and is contained in this b'midesa with his midas. Sheboim his galus. The midas are actually surfacing in this speech. The recipient likewise, with his sense, with his feelings. This is what touches him in this speech. Shenirgash boy in the makabel, in the recipient, is sensed koyach hamashpia, the force, the power of the mashpia, and he comes closer to him as a result of this interaction. Sash it out for the.
I said before that the world was created by Basura the Buddha. Means the 10 koiches. They said that what wasn't created from nothing, it was created from the 10 koiches.
Through the koiches.
So how does it go together with the principle of Kriyas Yashma Ayin? That it was created from Ayin.
The AYIN aspect.
Can you explain this question before you answer it, please?
He's asking, we're saying yet the creation is yesh me'ayin. What kind of me'ayin? There is these koiches that are involved in creation. It's not ayin. So So this is why we pointed out that despite all the reasoning, the sechel, get up, it's time to get up, nothing happens. What gets him up? The AYIN. A completely different reality that gets him up.
We're saying the Gara.
No, Gara, this is how it's expressed. But where does Gara come from? It's real, get up. There is no definable reason in there. Seem to be continued, Mitch.
So we're going back to AYIN. Where do we send the
Thank you.
Now what? The means by which it comes into being is to Asar Dvorim.
We said Bagada.
Yeah, no, that's the means. Is it the
It's already the yesh.
not the way in the yesh, right?
Didn't we say before that the iron is the Ratzon?
What?
The iron is the Ratzon, no?
The AYIN is Rotzen and Oinek. That's in a different level completely. Yes, I said in everything we have to use plus our own sechel.
Now I understand the hippies, you know? Wow, so real, man. 1 second. Oh, okay. Hi.
What?
Good day.